Dan Pink, author of Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us, calls into question the previous way of thinking, that if you reward good behavior, you get more good behavior, and if you punish bad behavior, you get less. So let's go from London to the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the United States, and let's talk about a study done at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Here's what they did. They took a whole group of students and they gave them a set of challenges. Things like memorizing strings of digits, solving word puzzles, and other kinds of spatial puzzles, even physical tasks like throwing a ball through a hoop. They gave them these challenges and they said, to incentivize their performance, they gave them 3 levels of rewards. So if you did pretty well, you got a small monetary reward. If you did medium well, you got a medium monetary reward. And if you did really well, if you were one of the top performers, you got a large cash prize. We've seen this movie before though. This is essentially a typical motivational scheme within organizations. We reward the very top performers, we ignore the low performers, and the folks in the middle, well, you get a little. This same type of reward system is also apparent in the school system today with standardized testing. The kids that do well receive an A, the kids that do bad get an F, in the middle, well, the rest of you pass. But is this actually helping students, or is this more detrimental to the learning process? Just like the results of the aforementioned study concluded that for basic rudimentary skills, incentives worked. But once it called for cognitive creative work, the reward system had the opposite effect. We know grades simply don't say everything about how a student is learning. It measures his or her ability to select the right answer at the moment in time, but that's all it says. We all know there is cramming, memorizing, and even cheating. There are ways to ace a test without mastering the material. You'll receive desired results in the short term, but in the long term it's detrimental. To sustain long-term success and happiness, one must tap into the intrinsic or internal motivators to succeed. Dan Pink breaks this down into 3 factors: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Dan Pink says autonomy is our desire to be self-directed, to direct our own lives. But what does this mean in the classroom? It does not mean that students are free to learn and do whatever they please whenever they want. For example, in class we have been given homework as practice for the lesson. Instead of getting graded on the homework, we are able to use the homework as practice and a basis for discussion during class. This way we do the homework for the sake of learning and give ourselves self-direction, and we're not scrambling to get our homework done for the sake of getting a grade. Pink argues that curiosity and self-direction are hardwired into human nature. For example, have you ever seen a 6-month-old or a 3-year-old who is not curious or self-directed? Curiosity is our default setting. The inertia and reluctance we find is a result of the production and rewarding as motivation. Pink says, management, or in our case learning, isn't about responding to this assumed natural state of inertia, but rather it's about producing an environment for us to get back to that curious and self-directed state. Pink describes mastery as this desire to get better at something that matters. We can relate this to education by looking at mastery like grit, which is the idea to learn something to better yourself. In a classroom, we can look at it by challenging ourselves or holding ourselves to a higher standard, so when we graduate, we're prepared for anything, and the basic task will seem very rudimentary. While grades like money are necessary motivators, they are not sustainable incentives. It's the difference between getting an A in French class and learning to speak French, describes Pink. While both goals lead to achievement, only the second one leads to mastery. According to Pink, purpose is contributing to something bigger than ourselves. It deals with relevance and plays a big part in the world around us. For students, purpose comes in the form of relevance. Why am I coming to school? How is this helping me prepare for my future? Just like HPO's motto, Polome Meka Oio, which means forward with truth, is intended to inspire us, to want us to come to class and learn. Teachers give us purpose in the classroom by relating coursework to real-world or job-related tasks. Giving the work we do relevance gives students purpose and lets them know that we're doing something to help us in the future. Show me something that matters to my life, and I'm in. Dan Pink's science-based approach to motivation is a refreshing new look at what motivates people. His research is a scientific explanation why micromanagement isn't good for anything, why cramming and cheating and learning for tests is bad in the long term, and why everybody wants to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. So I leave you with a final thought. Are you trying to fill a bucket or start a fire?